It's a new day for hope, healing, and happiness with Natasha Rosewood.
Hi, welcome to It's a New Day for Hope, Healing and Happiness. Thank you all for joining us on this snowy evening in BC anyway. And if you are driving, please be very careful and please do something for me and wipe that snow off the roof of your vehicle. Because people haven't done that. So, just saying, we all want to stay alive. So this week we're going to be talking about your mental, emotional, and physical health and how you have the power to heal your own body and your own mind. And we're going to be welcoming my very special guest shortly. Her name is MacDonald, and she is a bioenergetic healer and also a kinesiopractor. So we'll be getting into that terminology very shortly. If you would like to come on the show, you can join us by going to the link in the chat below. So we'd love to have you come on and ask either Lisa your questions about your emotional and physical health, or if you have a psychic question for me, we can also help you out toward the end of the show after the interview. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love your participation. Thank you. Put my teeth in, then I can say the words. Okay, so let's begin. I would like to bring in Lisa. She's going to be our virtual guest this evening.
It looks like she dropped off here.
Okay.
It's the heavy snow load.
Okay. So I'll talk to my audience while we're waiting. Is that okay? So one of the things I did want to say before Lisa comes on is about 40 years ago when I first came to Canada, I discovered a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And this lady had, at the age of 41, I believe, been told that she would be dead within 6 months with vaginal cancer. And what she decided to do was to live, and she changed her mind, she changed her diet, she changed her attitude, and she did a lot to get rid of her resentment, and she did a lot of forgiveness. And she ended up becoming this amazing author of this book and others. She did workshops. She helped so many people come back from the brink of death. And she ended up actually finally passing away at the age of 91. So we can all do that. And so I'm really excited to welcome Lisa because she does this kind of work too. Right, Lisa?
Yes, I do.
And
Thanks
so
for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I never got to meet Louise Hay, but I've met you. And I just want to ask you, can you explain to our audience what is biogenetic healing exactly?
Bioenergetic wellness sessions or healing is what I do is we specifically will go in and devise a specific goal for that client. It could be whether health, career, relationship, whatever it is that would fill their cup again. And then we go in and we use Chinese meridians, and we use a muscle testing called muscle biofeedback.
Okay.
We go in and test those meridians that may have some blockages with their chi energy.
So, go ahead.
If there's blockages, they're usually caused by an emotion.
Right.
Okay. Right? That can be tied back to a trauma, to an event, to something that has happened within the past.
Yes. So when you're dealing with a client, do you typically look for the emotion, or do you look for the physical manifestation of that emotion first? Or does it just depend on the client?
Sometimes a client will come in and say, oh, my knee has been bothering me for weeks, or, oh, my back, I always find that interesting because usually within the balance, it comes out and the emotions, and then sometimes I'll be guided to go get certain resources, and I'll pull out my books and I'll start reading to them, and they'll like, oh yeah, that's going on in my life right now. But it's kind of interesting how it all ties in together.
Exactly. So I know I don't want to call us healers, but light workers, let's call us light workers, facilitators of healing. Everybody I know started their journey because they went through something themselves. Do you have I'm sure you have a story about that too. What's your story?
In my past, I had a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma. Growing up, lots of stressors, being a single parent with an autistic kid, so learning to suppress what I was feeling all throughout my life, and developed multiple autoimmune disorders to the extent where a few times I had found myself bedridden and at a loss and trying to raise my son.
Wow.
Years of taking pharmaceutical medications because that was the path that I chose at that time and only knew. And it had reached a point where I literally would say to people I felt like a toxic dump after years and years of trying different meds and nothing was working and I was just deteriorating. Mm-hmm. So I graciously came across a few amazing holistic type therapies and practitioners and started peeling back my onions, as I call it, the layers.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then I came across what I do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So how long have you been doing this particular kind of work?
For about 3 years now.
Okay.
Actively.
And you call yourself, you talked about being a kinesiopractor. Is that correct? Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. We were just recently, to my understanding, allowed to now call ourselves kinesiopractors in Canada. There's 4 different levels. I've completed up to level 2, which required about 2.5 years of schooling.
So is there a difference between a kinesiopractor and a bioenergetic wellness
we used
session?
to have to call ourselves a bioenergetic wellness consultant or practitioner. Huge, long, awful name. In other areas of the world, we would be known as a kinesiologist, and that we practice energy kinesiology.
Okay. So when a client comes to you, what's the actual process?
Usually I'll do the first consult and we'll sit down and we'll just discuss what's going on in their world. What is it that brought them to me? What is it that you're wishing, right? That what's not happening right now in your world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I narrow it down and we get more of a specific goal for them.
Okay. And is there physical contact or are you just kind of tuning in to them?
For the muscle testing, there is, but I can also surrogate it as well. If they're having difficulties or if they're pain and they're not able to do certain positions, we've been shown how we're able to surrogate and test in other ways.
Okay. And do people generally come to you just once or is it a series of sessions?
I find it's like an onion and it's layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
I encourage people, everybody, we're all bad at self-care, but usually it's probably good about every 3 to 4 weeks you come in and you do a check-in and we'll work and see what next layer is ready to unfold for you.
And I always say to people, you know how you're doing by the results that you're getting. So, I find something interesting. People come to me and they say, well, I have a question, Natasha. And I say, okay, what's your question? And if they're bursting to ask that question, I'll say, okay, ask your question. But I say you can ask it or we can wait till the end till I've done the reading. So I do the whole reading and then their little question kind of got lost in this massive message that they got. So does that happen to you? Like people come and say, well, I think I've got this going on. But in the end, you come up with something much bigger.
The goal, yes.
Yeah.
We define it more.
Yeah. And so when a client comes to you, I know when a client comes to me, my intention is it's not about being right as a psychic, although I am often. It's more about lifting that person up to a high frequency. So I set intention for whoever's coming to see me, wherever they're at, my intention is to kind of raise them up just a little bit or a lot, whatever level they're willing to go. So when people come to you, do you kind of set intention?
Actually, we do, and we actually allow them to visually see it. We use a pendulum and we use a graft, and we test them for their stress energy and their life energy after setting the goal. So usually a good goal will put amazing stressors on your life energy. So it'll probably go up to 100 or over 100%. And your life energy energetically will drop, sometimes like low 0, 10, sometimes below 0. And then after the balance, this is the beautiful part, then we show the client, bring out the chart again, and we'll have them think of their goal again. And then we show them on with the pendulum and chart how their stress level has gone down and how their life energy has now come up because we've released the blocks and we've got the flowing once again.
So I have to ask you, Lisa, about, your client stories. Can you give us an example of something that's been, that stands out to you? I know you've helped a lot of people, but what stands out to you?
There was one in particular that's mutual, a client of both of ours, that was a very profound experience for me, I have to say. To walk in and see, I'm going to cry, but to walk in
that's
and
okay.
see someone, to not have that will and to not have that light, and then to be able to spend that afternoon with that individual and hold that space, work your magic, and leave and see their whole perspective on life change and have that sparkle back. It was very, very profound.
Well, I'm glad you shared that particular story because I was there for that one. And I know you're talking about Jennifer. And I was like blown away. And what you did with her, and you said before the session, Natasha, I think we've got to do this. And I said, okay, fill your boots, because I know, our higher ups talk to us and tell us what to do. It's not coming from us, it's coming through us. And I was like, okay. And I don't know if she'll have the energy for that because she's been through a lot. But you brought in all the materials and we sat down and we all participated and it was like girlfriends sitting around a table just chatting. And I could see the energy level going from being very depressed to like being excited. And it's like, whoa, what did you do, Lisa? It was very good. And God bless you for continuing to work with her, because I think when people are going through very scary times with illness, it's easy to say, the mind can change it and we need to change up the frequency and we need to have affirmations and all that good stuff. But when you're sitting there with it, it's a different story, right? So we need the support. And I know I'm carrying on supporting her as well. But, we've got this team. And I like to say that, it takes a village to raise a child. But I think it also takes a village to support somebody that's going through a very serious illness, to give them that courage and that love and to show them that they're valued and we want them here and they can do this. And we'll show them how, but just to keep saying, we're here for you, we're here for you, we're here for you. And so if anybody else is out there suffering from the big C or any other diseases that are life-threatening, there is actual scientific proof, and I always quote Dr. Joe Dispenza because they've actually measured the brain waves when we do this kind of work, when we do the forgiveness and we do the release, which you help with in your process, right? Am I correct? That's the big one. That's the big one. And you get the river flowing again. You get the chi happening. That it kind of changes the brain and then it changes the cells. It changes the immune system and the immune system fights back. And then people come back to health. And there have been stories, he has stories of people that are at stage 4 cancer and it's been in their bones and they've come back from that. So it is possible. And it's not to put pressure on people that feel that they can't do that because it's a choice. So when you're dealing with somebody that's really losing their will, do you have people like that you're able to talk to and give them something to give them hope first?
I usually get downloads because I'm very intuitive. As you saw for that session, I thought it was crazy too for what I was going to go get and what I was bringing to that session.
Yes.
But then as the session unfolded, I was able to see, because it put that person in that element, right, to start that process.
Right.
So I find that for most, I usually receive that guidance and I'm just guided to how I'm needing to support. And I find the majority of it is just allowing them to feel empowered again, allowing them to feel that they have a say, allowing them, holding that space.
Exactly.
And usually they have their own answers, as we saw in that beautiful session that we both held for that individual, and what eventually came out, and then what we were eventually able to subtly point out to why, like you just said yourself, why you are here.
Yeah. Yeah. We do know our own truth.
Perspective, right? It's just all perspective.
Yeah. And we do know our own truth. We do know our own futures deep inside. When clients come to me for readings, and they ask me questions and I answer the questions, they say, well, I kind of knew that. And I said, of course you did. And so, for me, when people are suffering emotionally as well as physically, it's the will, not the biology. So I did have a girlfriend, you'll love this story. It's in one of my books, actually. And she called me one day, and she's very Nova Scotian, she's very brusque. And she said, Natasha, am I going to live or am I going to die? And I said, well, what do you want to do? And she allowed me to put her story in this book, so I can mention her name. And she said, well, I want to live. And I said, well, that's good. I can work with you then. So I did a kind of an NLP session with her over the phone. And we got her to go to a happy place. Which raises the frequency. We got to do some deep breathing. We got into her favorite colors. We made the happy place be that color. She could barely talk because she could barely breathe at the beginning of the phone call. And by the end of it, she was like breathing easier. And she ended up going back into hospital, and all her kids are calling me and saying, Natasha, she's going to die. I said, no, she's not. She's decided to live. I know she has. She just got to get rid of this stuff, and then she was well again. And she's still alive to this day, and this was like 30 years ago. So, we can do it if we want to be here, do you think giving people a reason to be here is important?
Yes, because I've seen that. Yes, they need, yeah. And they need to feel empowered if they feel they've lost their power. And especially if they're really ill. Right? I know myself, I got to a place where I had taken so many medications. I was so tired of doctors. But that's the route that I knew at that time that I needed to go through. But actually, it was making me sicker because I'm constantly hearing negative things about myself and my body. Right. There's nothing positive. Where's the positive?
I know.
Do you really put another label on me? I don't need another label.
Exactly. God bless the doctors and nurses in Western medicine. And some of them are very empathic and some are not so much. And I really would love it if actually in doctors' offices in Austria, for example, if you go into a GP's office, there's a doctor on the one side, there's a naturopath on the other. What I would like to see is a doctor, the naturopath, and you.
Well, I've been told that's how we are. That's like if I was in Africa, or if I was in Australia, or if I was in New Zealand, I would work alongside a GP.
Yeah, wouldn't that be one? That time will come.
Behind here.
Yes, we certainly are. And, when you think about Louise came out 40 years ago, and this is still considered leading edge thinking, that the body has the power to heal itself by thinking positive thoughts and caring about our emotions and doing the forgiveness work and concentrating on, like you say, being empowered, doing what makes us happy, because then the energy flows and there's no impediment there to it. So if somebody just comes to you with like a trauma or, more of a mental emotional issue, how do you deal with that? Is it the same process?
It's the same. I would do the same setting a goal. We would still do the same muscle testing, but I was privileged to take an additional year in energy psychology. So there are certain techniques that I have learned that I experienced myself because I suffered from post-traumatic stress. And after I had the technique done around the incident, it was like, oh, good gosh, all the Valium I was prescribed over the years and all I needed to do was this.
Exactly. Isn't it crazy? Right? Yes.
Well, but it was beautiful. So I'm very fortunate. I'm able to, actually there's 5 of us in Canada that were granted that
Wow.
diploma and being able to do it. So
Congratulations.
yeah, no,
So,
it's a beautiful, beautiful
yeah,
way of releasing heavy trauma.
yeah. So if people want to find you, Lisa, I know you're located in Seminar, but I know you also do remote sessions too, don't you?
I do, and I also have a room in Lake Country at Odette Skincare.
Oh, okay.
I have a room
Okay.
there that I use of as well up here in Salmon Arm, and I do it remotely as well. Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you get this question from your clients, but I get it from mine. Like, Natasha, how can you read me when you're in Kelowna and I'm in Timbuktu and we're on the phone or on a Zoom? And my answer to them is, well, I'm not reading your physical body. I'm reading your 6 levels of consciousness, or your spirit, if you like, that gets expressed through your physical body. And I can pick up on past lives and dead people coming through and all that kind of thing, even if it's thousands of miles away. And they do participate in the phone session. In fact, I think I'm better on the phone than I am when they come to see me in person in some ways, because you're so focused. How do you explain it to your clients, because you are dealing with their body?
We are. But I was fortunate during a time of the world change. I learned all through technology.
Okay.
So we all got to, for 2.5 years, work remotely because I had classmates were all over. So we really got to zoom in and understand how to tap in, and always making sure we ask permission. And then with my intuitiveness on top of it, it's fairly easy for me to work on something. I always explain to them what I'm doing. And what I found fascinating is there's a couple techniques where I have a doll that I work on sometimes in lieu of the actual person.
Right.
And I was doing this one technique called a meridian walk. So if it becomes sore, the person has to let me know, and there's certain things that I do if it's sore. So I would say to her, let me know when you start to feel some discomfort or if it gets sore. And I had the privilege of doing it with 2 individuals and separate times throughout the procedure. They would say, stop, it's kind of sore there. And I would say to them, can you share with me where exactly are you feeling it's sore? And bang on where I was on the doll.
Wow.
So if I ever had any doubt, that was my own test that, wow, this really does work. I doubted, but I was curious where that walk, because I am remotely walking that meridian for them.
Right. Isn't it crazy? I mean, thought just travels just like that. And I think it's so, I was thinking the other night how, a lot of very religious people kind of poo-poo psychics and healers. And I think, well, they believe in something invisible, which is God, which I also happen to believe in. Why can't we believe in in thought transference, which is what it is, right? So it's crazy that we don't do that. We believe in electricity and fiber optics, but God forbid that we believe in psychics. So it's kind of interesting.
And we're energy. We're energy. We're
energy vibrating. Yeah, sending out the waves. We're emitting the waves, that's for sure. So I want to say to you, though, that I can really relate to you having gone through your story, getting back to that and going through all that suffering that you did, because you were able then to not only learn, but you knew what it felt like to be going through that, and how badly you wanted to get off the medications, and how badly you wanted to heal and be out of bed and be active and have a normal life, if there's such a thing. In the same way, people always ask me, how did you become psychic? And I always say, well, if my mother hadn't been psycho, I wouldn't be psychic, And sadly, she was very mentally damaged, shall we say, emotionally damaged. But, all those events, and I like to say this to my clients as well, when they do go through these big illnesses or these big traumas, there's a real gift at the end of the tunnel. If once they get through it and slightly past it and have healed from it, and then they turn around and look back on it, it's like, oh my God, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't know this, or I wouldn't have started this, or I wouldn't have met so-and-so. So to always look for the gift, which you have done and you're practicing, thank you. And so many of us have. So it's a real thing to remember, that this isn't just about suffering. This is about learning something. Maybe it's like, I call it my university degree. And once you get out of the university, then you can start to brag about this experience you had and what you learned from it and how you can empower and inspire others to maybe not go down that path. So there is expansion and evolution as well. So if people want to find you, Lisa, you have a website with other practitioners on it. Am I right?
I do. Yes, I did that in the summer.
Awesome.
I had a vision, so I followed through with the vision.
I love that, because I'm always kind of wanting to, this is my way of connecting with other people that are doing this kind of work. I love it because we learn so much from each other, and we can refer clients here, there, and everywhere. And that way we're a village and we're taking care of everybody, right? So what is your websites? I know it's in the notes on YouTube.
It's www.empoweringwithin.ca.
I love that title. That's very good. Okay. So I'm going to thank you so much for coming on, Lisa, and explaining. And I know you're in Seminole, but you're also in Lake Country, so people of Kelowna can come and find you and get healthy, right? Emotionally, physically, mentally. Yeehaw. Find the power. So we'll be talking to you again soon. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks care.
For having me, Natasha.
Lots of love. Bye. Okay. So if you would like to find Lisa, you can go to the notes below. Her website is there, empoweringwithin.ca. And what I would like to let you know is on next week's show, I'm going to be also interviewing a very good friend of mine, Vanessa Ooms. She has written a book also about another interesting dysfunctional dynamic, and it's called people pleasing. Her book is called Do It For You, How to Stop People Pleasing and Find Peace. And I've read the book through, and it's a really great workbook. It really takes you from all your situations dealing with people with addictions or power struggles or bullying, this kind of thing. So it's going to be really fascinating talking to Vanessa as well. The other thing is I am going to be at the Best Western Hotel this Saturday, Sunday, doing psychic readings. So there's going to be a lot of other people there, the psychics and healers. So come on down. It starts 11 o'clock on Saturday, goes till 5. And then again on Sunday, 11 till 4. And I'm offering 15 and 30-minute readings. The other thing is, if you would like to be on this show, either to ask a question or you want to be a guest, you can get my newsletters. And in order to do that, you can just go to my website, natasharosewood.com, go right to the bottom of the homepage, put in your name and email, and bingo, bango, you will get my newsletters, which are going to list all these shows and the links. So you can go back and see past shows and maybe suggest some new ones. So we hope to see you in that way as well. I did have a client who emailed me in a psychic question. Her name is Cheryl, and she just wanted to ask me if I could sense that she was going to be moving or traveling this year. She was not able to be on the show tonight, so I said I'd just answer that for her. I do not get you moving, Cheryl, but I do get you traveling later on in the year. It feels like around October, November, fairly late on, and it does feel like you're going with a friend to a location, and I don't think it's international. It might be into the US. I don't get it's international travel, but this year is going to be a very expansive year for you, and you're going to be really waking up, I want to say, to who you really are and what you want to do. And then you asked if you'd be going with anyone, and I thought you meant romantically. What I do get for you is probably next year there's going to be somebody coming in, but it's when you become your own soulmate, because like attracts like. So first we have to be the person that we want to attract. So I feel you're going to really discover that about yourself this year. So I hope that helps you. So remember, it's a new day. You can heal your body and your mind. Think positive thoughts. And if you need support with that, you can go find Lisa or come to me. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.